Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about PlayStation 4, 3DS, Xbox, and more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about PlayStation 4 emulation with RPCSX. RPCSX is still fairly new to the scene, but it's already booting some games. The main developer behind this one is someone who founded RPCS3. So if you head on over to Brutal Sam's YouTube page, which I will leave a link to in the description below, you can see two games up and booting. Sonic Mania, which seems to be a console standard, and also Bloodborne. Now it's worth pointing out that there's a big difference between booting and playable. There are no graphics just yet, but the game is loading, and that's a major step forward. However, on the other hand, Sonic Mania is showing graphics, which is a massive first step. This is a big first step in hopefully a number of big steps moving forward for RPCS3. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Next up, we're quickly talking about 3DS emulation with Citra, and Citra got a couple of updates. So both the experimental nightly build of Citra and arguably more experimental Canary builds of Citra got brand new updates. So for Canary here, version 2570 allows the new 3DS internet browser to surf the internet. For nightly version 1958, it increases CIA installation speeds on Citra Android by more than 10 times. And there's even more here. In nightly version 1960, just like Canary, it allows the new 3DS Internet Browser app to surf the internet. And in Canary 2574, this is worth paying attention to if you're on Android. Many parts of this backend have been reworked to improve the stability and performance, especially on Android devices. Now remember that these are experimental builds, but if you want to try them out on your own, you absolutely can. Head to citra-emu.org and click on download. Once you're on this page, click on manual download, and then you can see the latest nightly build and latest Canary build for your operating system of choice. Moving on, and we're still talking about 3DS emulation, but shifting over to unreleased Mikage, and Mikage showed off some more working games, Majora's Mask. And here are some screenshots from the emulator. And on top of that, they showed off some Animal Crossing. Now at this point in time, there is no public build of Mikage. If you're interested in it, you're gonna have to be patient. It'll release when it's ready. And speaking about releases, if you like to use emulators on your modded Wii, you might be excited to know that SNES 9X GX, which is SNES, FCE UGX, which is NES, and VBA GX, which is Game Boy Advance, have brand new releases. With SNES 9X GX, they've added in a new SNES high-res mode. As always, I'll drop links to absolutely everything in the description below, so feel free to check them out. And speaking about checking stuff out, next up we're talking about Xbox emulation with CXBX Reloaded. And Luke Usher has provided a pretty nice update. I'll drop a link to the Patreon page in the description below, and feel free to check it out. It says the emulator will no longer auto-region patch loaded games. It was causing many games to fail to boot. There was a bug that was fixed, which ends up fixing NASCAR Heat 2002. GTA San Andreas has been improved, and more. Now this is worth noting. They say unfortunately, due to the lack of active testers, we are unsure how this has impacted the overall compatibility numbers, as the majority of games still remain untested on the latest release. If you notice something incorrect or missing in the compatibility database, please reach out on the CXBX Reloaded Discord server so that we can update it. And I guess if you like to test out stuff, you've got a lot to test out here. Next up, we're talking about emulation front-end, Launchbox. And if you're a fan of Launchbox, you might be a fan of this giveaway. It's their 10-year anniversary giveaway, giving away 1,000 forever licenses in total, 500 for Windows and 500 for Android. To find out more information, head on over to their YouTube page, which I will drop a link to in the description below. Moving on, and we're talking about Steam Gaming and Linux, and this is a really awesome update. I'll drop a link to this article in the description below, but it's titled, Linux Overtakes macOS Users on Steam Thanks to the Steam Deck. If we take a look at the users using Steam here, Windows dominates the market with 96.21%. macOS is in third place with 1.84%. And Linux has risen to second place with 1.96% of people using it. That is incredible for Linux, and it's all thanks to the Steam Deck. If for some reason you don't believe me, Gaming on Linux has broken down these numbers even further by Linux distribution, and we can see here that SteamOS is the clear winner with 42.07% of people using it. SteamOS is what's on the Steam Deck. Next up, we're talking about Microsoft, and this one was spotted over on Kotaku, and it's something I'm extremely excited about. Microsoft now sells Xbox controller replacement parts, official replacement parts. On top of that, the Xbox Support YouTube channel also has tutorials on how to replace those parts on your own. If we go on ahead and take a look at the prices for the official parts, they are not cheap, which is no surprise. I mean, you can pick up very cheap parts on Amazon for a fraction of the cost. But at the same time here, this is massive in terms of the right to repair. I think Microsoft is doing a great thing here. Next up, we're talking about Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures, but not on the SNES, on the Sega Mega Drive. The game actually existed on the Mega Drive. It was cancelled overall and never officially released, but there are a few prototype carts out there. And footage of the game has surfaced online. I'll drop a link to this video in the description below. And fingers crossed as always, hopefully at some point in time this game is dumped for preservation's sake. Next up, we're talking about a brand new Game Boy Color game about to be released. It's called Zephyrs Pass and it's up on Incubate Games. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. There is a demo available, or you can pick up the physical version for $82 Canadian. Or the ROM. Thankfully, they're actually selling the ROM for 21 bucks. Zephyrs Pass is being classified as an action game, and I'm interested. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about Street Fighter 6, and since Street Fighter 6 is on PC, a lot of people like to mod the game. And some of these mods are not safe for work. Anyways, during tournament play on stream, someone had a modded Chun-Li without any clothes on. The announcers tried hard to keep it together and the stream was temporarily stopped while the mod was turned off. And speaking about PC gaming, next up we're talking about Tekken 8. Tekken 8 recently had a closed beta on PC and that beta has been cracked. People are playing the game even though the beta has finished. And if Bandai Namco sees you, they'll ban you from tournament play. And last up here, we're talking about one of many of my favorite Linux distributions, Linux Mint. And it looks like Linux Mint 21.3 is expected to be released sometime around Christmas of this year, at least according to this blog. On top of that, LMDE, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Linux Mint Debian Edition, depending on how you want to interpret that, is being worked on, specifically LMDE 6. They're looking at bridging the gap between LMDE and Linux Mint, and I'm wondering if one day they'll just be LMDE and ditch Ubuntu altogether. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.